Okay. Rock and rolling here. All right, here we go. So for anybody here, I think we all may have an idea of VMware in terms of its product offerings for your business, and the majority of which has been VMware's foundation on their server virtualization offerings. That's everything from ESXi or vSphere. Again, things that you can just have a better return on your investment for any of your server infrastructure spend. And as we've seen VMware evolve this product portfolio within the, let's say, let's say around 15 years, they've added a lot to their line card. And for this, we're going to dive into a bit more on their digital workspace offerings, which cater to working from anywhere, also having a secure remote desktop for your employees to be able to be productive across any device as long as they have an internet connection. And if we have some time, I might be able to sprinkle in some, product demonstrations. But I will say, navigate towards however you guys get to the actual banner where all the sponsors are for this event, because I know you're able to click actually into their logos, which will launch you into their respective rooms, especially to help answer some of the questions that you might get from that scavenger hunt as well. All right, so also with that, I could be able to host up any demonstrations in our breakout room as well. So I just want to say I'll be there for the latter afternoon expo hours with my counterpart Dan as well. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there for anybody here trying to navigate the environment. But one of the other things I want to make mention of too, back to the VMware topic, is VMworld concluded its VMworld a couple of weeks ago, and there was a lot of new announcements that they're making. And again, this is way beyond their just regular scope of server virtualization, although they did make mention that they updated vSphere 7, which is the initial major launch of the VMware compute virtualization offerings, to now have the update 1, which is the majority of when people start migrating to this new edition. So anybody out there is currently leveraging VMware today, especially vSphere, if you're not on 6.5 or higher, okay, you're potentially out of support, and you may not be able to call for help. So that's why we want to say get to 6.5. That's actually going end of life next year. But as we evolve, vSphere 7 Update 1 is really where you want to go towards. All right. And as we continue to see how VMware is adopting this ecosystem of being a foundation for your digital business, is that they're also leveraging some of their acquisitions. One of the notable ones was the one when they acquired Datrium, which has a disaster recovery as a service offering. And they're folding that into a product they call VMware Cloud Disaster Recovery as a Service. That is going to be launching next month for general availability, and of course going through the abilities to have any of your environments to have a disaster recovery site be up and running in a very short time frame. And also, when we got to think about how we're securing our environments, because that's been a notable conversation for a lot of our different agenda topics here today, is focus on endpoint security. And VMware has acquired, almost to the day a year ago, Carbon Black, which is a market leader in endpoint security, both from pattern recognition but also behavioral recognition, so that they can actually track and trend and figure out when the bad actors might be trying to exploit those systems. And that has been folded into the VMware product category flawlessly. And for anybody here, you can obviously we can have a conversation about that too in our breakout sessions. All right, and then finally, a focus on containerization. So I'm not sure if anybody here is talking containers instead of just virtual machines, but VMware's got an answer for it as well with their Tanzu product offering that they're also allowing you to deploy on their VMware Cloud on AWS, which again is perfect for any of the larger clients that need to have a secondary site where they can't either find a co-location or they would rather run it in some type of public cloud. The beauty of this, though, is that VMware is at the foundation layer here, so that you can monitor and manage it like you typically could with your on-premises infrastructure. And then finally, further advancements in their network virtualization product category with NSX. It's just how we virtualize the compute with vSphere, we virtualize the storage with vSAN, and we virtualize the networking with NSX. Right on. But that was just some of the notable announcements that I like to talk to, especially for anybody that's trying to get an idea of where's VMware going, right? In a sense, it's everywhere, right? Anywhere between the edge to the endpoint to the data center to the public cloud, right? There's a VMware answer for that. But to spend more time on what we're here for is in the digital workspace. And VMware defines the digital workspace really as just a place that an employee can go to gain access to applications or desktop to be able to do their job. Now, the way that this evolved, especially with the COVID issue that we were all dealing with, is that some employers were, or some clients were able to address this need because they may have already adopted a digital workspace of some sort. Maybe they had remote desktops, maybe they were using Citrix, one of our major competitors, or they were using VMware Horizon to deliver desktops and apps really anywhere. Or they were just dealing with a laptop that's connected to a VPN to the headquarters, right? So they can at least gain access in a secure fashion. That was challenged because we found that some styles were a little bit more flexible than others. And the way that we really want to get our digital workspace ecosystem is really to help answer all of these points. Really within this whole little chart here, we want to make sure we have employees that have secure access to applications and data to be productive, while from an IT administrator perspective, we're trying to help better corral all the different Windows management tools that are out there to also help better support the PC refresh cycle that you may have, or Mac, right? But really address the work from home effort, the remote learning, and even potentially support contractual or temporary workers so that you can give them proper access while also being able to relinquish that. So we know that they're not necessarily walking away with a company supplied laptop. But the biggest net outcome of all this is more effective and efficient management from the IT staff, so that if you happen to have 10 to 100 to 10,000 different users that need to have a virtual desktop or applications, that you can manage this from a single point. And that is through our product called VMware Horizon. And the latest edition with VMware Horizon is Horizon 8, which was announced in August. And we have a lot of different flexibility models for you to allow virtual desktops or applications for your employees, regardless of where you really want to deploy this. There is, of course, what we call like our two different facets within a virtual desktop or digital workspace. And for one, we have what we call our customer managed, in a sense, client managed Horizon environments, where you may have IT staff that is corralling both the compute, network, storage, desktop environments. And for our deployment models, you can deploy Horizon on premises with, of course, your regular servers that you're leveraging today. We just have them host and run virtual desktops, just like virtual machines as virtual servers, right? But also, you can adopt a Horizon practice to even have a full-on offering in VMware Cloud on AWS. There's an offering that's coming out with the Azure stack as well. Even Google, and of course, there's some hardware OEMs like Dell that is going to give you a more purpose-built type of deployment, so that when you purchase the hardware, it's already pre-installed, ready to go, so that now you have a lot less time and effort being put into just setting up the machine or the servers, patching and updating the firmware on the devices, and then, of course, actually rolling out the Horizon environment. But for some, you may not necessarily want to do that. And VMware is giving a lot of flexibility in terms of how we're managing even the cloud adoption of desktops. Because we know the de facto standard for cloud desktops has really been centered in Microsoft Azure's virtual machines, or Azure's Windows Virtual Desktops, or WVDs. And in this case, we see that they can do a really good job of standing up these virtual desktops for employees out on Azure. But the problem becomes you have to manage it very archaically. You have to still use older tools. Provisioning desktops can be a chore. And how do you manage when you have multiple users trying to connect to, let's say, a single golden image? And this is where Horizon Cloud steps in to be more of like the manager of your cloud virtual desktops. Whereas you can then set a golden image, right? So let's say all of my sales teams will have a standardized desktop with certain applications. And in that case, I can then deploy that on top of Azure. So in a sense, I work through my VMware management stack, but then it's tied into how the Azure virtual machines or Windows virtual desktops are spun up. And when they are, they get the proper golden image. I'm able to create my IP tables and tools, and I'm having an easier way to manage at scale. But then, of course, we got to think about, well, how do we buy this stuff? Really, where am I going to be starting to put these licenses of these users, right? Because we really have two different facets. We got licenses for the on-prem, we got licenses for the cloud environments, and we understand, and I talk licensing a lot day in and day out here, is this gets a little complex. So VMware addressed the need for customers' methods of flexibility. And they came up with this Horizon Universal License. And I say this, yes, because it is more of a purchasing vehicle, but it allows us the ability to flex depending upon where you're going to deploy these virtual desktops. If you're going to want to run them on premises, that's great. We got an option for you. And if you're going to be running to run them in the public cloud, that works, or even potentially Horizon Cloud as well. So this universal license takes care of this ability when you might want to create certain virtual desktops on-prem, but you also might want to lift them up to the cloud when needed. And this universal license allows one purchase to deploy it in 4 different facets. And really, we just care about how many concurrent users you're going to need in order to support your employees that are going to have access to those virtual desktops. And from there, yes, you have the option to deploy it amongst any of those types of methods. Now, why this is important, and again, we're just scratching the surface amongst this whole ecosystem of VMware's digital workspace, is that we understand that we're addressing how we manage this virtual workspace for all of our users. And in this case, I want to make sure that I'm not necessarily tied to a certain machine. So this is why this kind of breaks the mold of the traditional methods of having employees do work. But in a simple sense, this was leveraged heavily when all these users starting to, of course, work from home when they started sequestering everyone. And the way that it worked is for companies that couldn't supply devices to the employees, they literally said, well, we have a hosted desktop platform. Again, it's powered by VMware Horizon. And they literally stated that as long as you have a computer, we don't care what it is, if it's a Chromebook, if it's an iPad, if it's a Mac, a PC, Linux, you name it, as long as you have internet service, you can go to your browser, we can give you your virtual desktop, and you can, of course, be productive. Now, this challenged it because we had, in a sense, 3 different layers to this approach. And some clients were leveraging this today. Some were just maybe taking a certain slice out of this. Let's say they were just focused on Horizon. Why we want to have this conversation is really the depth in the product line and how VMware has positioned their digital workspace. And it works as such. Going from the bottom layer, right? This is our software-defined data center, powered by VMware. It's centered with vSphere. Okay, that is just how we're virtualizing our servers, we're virtualizing our desktops. And of course, we have other answers to virtualizing our storage within vSAN to help corral how much storage you might need to purchase for this new project, and also addressing virtual networking. Because we understand that virtual desktops, or desktops in general, shouldn't really ever talk to each other. And we can literally apply a contextual policy in our network to just say, any Windows 10 desktop will never communicate to another Windows 10 desktop. That can also help reduce the spread of ransomware in case any one of my environments were infected in that case. But going a step further, we also want to secure this from a endpoint, antivirus, anti-malware offerings as well with Carbon Black. So it's like a complete layer amongst not just necessarily in just security, but also in effective manageability to make sure we're reducing the amount of threats that our employees might be subjected to. But then, of course, we tack on Horizon, which then gives us the ability to manage at scale for, again, if you have 10 users all the way up to like 10,000 plus, right? We're able to then have a couple of golden images set for any of my stacks of employees that need access to these desktops. And what happens is that instead of me monitoring and managing every single one of their Windows desktops and patching and updating every single one of my users' desktop sessions, I don't have to worry about that. I can author a golden image, right? And once that's created, anytime a new user comes to log in, they're borrowing that golden image, it's cloned and replicated just for them to be able to do their work with all their applications, and their wallpaper and everything else gets carried over because we have the ability to separate the user from the desktop, and we can separate the application from the desktop. So now we have this consortium of different ways that your users can consume either a desktop or application while maintaining the security, right? And also being able to maintain how they can connect really from any type of device, if you so shall choose that, right? Which then leads us to our final point on the top here is Workspace ONE. And Workspace ONE allows us the ability to monitor and manage the devices that are Windows, laptop, desktop, Mac OS, Androids, iPhones, all the different types of devices that are out there to better secure the environment, just so that we can trust that the users, who they say they are, trust the device that they're on and give them the desktop and app that they need to do their job. And that's why, by and large, we really are looking at two main product offerings to really help your environments. Whether that's if you need a better mobility management solution, that's absolutely Workspace ONE. But when we tie it all together, the power with Workspace ONE and Horizon help deliver that digital workspace. Really a better experience for employees, all the different types of applications that are out there, and while having modern management so that you're not necessarily worrying about patching and managing all these tens to thousands of PCs that are out there. Okay, you monitor and manage at one, and you could give a thin client to all your employees if you wanted to, right? And a thin client's a heck of a lot cheaper than a full-fledged laptop or desktop in that case. And then, of course, as we go forward with it, you'll have better insights. You'll understand how employees are connecting. And then you can even get into the automation of where, when you have an employee that's logging in from a mobile device, they can still get their type of desktop delivered to that mobile device, especially if they were any field type workers that they need to have secure connectivity, but they might not travel with a laptop under their arm. They might have a smaller tablet or something along those lines. And that's where we can have that elasticity and that user choice for them to be able to connect within really any device that they may have that they're comfortable with. And that's why really, just to kind of, I got a couple minutes here before I wrap this up, is that we're challenging the traditional methodologies of how we deploy, configure, manage, patch, and deliver apps to really more having ability to just literally, you could say to an employee, we're going to ship you a laptop, and it doesn't even have to be factory provisioned. It can be shipped right out to them. When they sign in, they can download their Workspace ONE application, which can tie them into your company's environment so that they can then, of course, click on their virtual desktops they need to do their work. And again, all those virtual desktops could be running either on premises in your environment or in the public cloud, really helping to try to drive a better user experience from day one, especially when they're newly hired in your environment. And then again, answer to all of this, whether it's going to be different devices that you're going to want to have in your environment, whether they're iOS or Android, like we mentioned, Windows, of course, Mac, we support these different types of devices that you can leverage to connect into your secure environment to deliver desktops and apps. And the best part about it too is it doesn't have to be native applications to run on these devices. What Horizon does is really just take what it's doing is virtualizing that desktop and virtualizing the application, so that if you were on a Mac environment, you could be having PC applications, in a sense, streamed to your Mac, and you wouldn't know the difference. But the best part is that it's centrally monitored and managed and controlled from the back-end IT infrastructure. And so there's been a lot of improvements with Horizon 8, and I'm going to leave you with this, is that we really want to help offer up a better way to deliver virtual desktops to your customers, or I'm sorry, to your employees, and really help make sure that wherever you're going to deploy this, is that you'll have support both for the unified collaboration tools that are out there to have a seamless desktop experience as long as they got an active internet connection. And again, my name is Brandon Graddoria. I'm on the VMware team here supporting Entree. We're going to be back in the Expo booth. I think, I don't know, I'll have to check the agenda. Yeah, what is it? Boy. Let's say, yeah, 1 o'clock Central Time. That's 2 o'clock Eastern Time for about an hour. Be sure to click on the VMware icon for the sponsorships. That'll drop you right into that room. It'll count for watching a video to answer your scavenger hunt, and then also click into chat with myself and Dan. We'd be happy to share some more demonstrations for you live. And I really appreciate the time. If anybody has any questions, I'll monitor chat here. But that'll conclude my my talk on the digital workspace with VMware. And I appreciate your time. Have a great rest of your event too as well. Thank you.